Loyalty isn't rewarded in streaming. It's challenging for most of the streaming services to keep their users. But what's the exact solution? I'm not sure.
Hi, everybody. For this new episode of Retention Zone, I have the pleasure to have with me someone that is in the Middle East, and it's Yann Colleter.
Hi, Carlo. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm very proud that you contacted me. To be honest, I didn't want to ask you directly, but you called me first, so that's good.
It's, a fellow creator. So we're both consultant, expert, analyst, creator, whatever. Well, the reason that I anticipated, if you want, because Yann was for a long time in my list of retentions on potential guests, is that he came out with a post, and I wanted it provoke immediately say, we should talk about it on the podcast. So first, quickly tell me about Yann and the Streaming Lab. First.
Yann first. Originally, I come from the south of France, Marseille.
I can tell.
I'm very proud. My French accent, or from the south of France?
Both.
Yeah, perfect. I'm proud of both, so that's fine. I quickly moved to Dubai already 10 years ago. So I've been in the region for the past 10 years. So far, so good. I met my wife here. I had my first son, and let's see, but I'm sure we'll stay a little bit longer in this beautiful region. The Streaming Lab is an interesting story. It started like a few years back out of frustration. I've been, acquiring a lot of content in the region from Hollywood studios and independent content providers. And then at some points, I was always looking for information about streaming in MENA. What's happening? Who are the players? What business model do they have, etc. But most of the companies are private, so it was very, very tricky to find the right information. So I started writing on LinkedIn about streaming in MENA specifically. My first post, I remember exactly, was the list of streaming services that launched in the MENA region for the past 10 years. And I remember I think 10, 15 of them. But all the community, started like commenting and bringing more and more information. And, at the time, there were, in fact, like more than 30 local streaming services. Wow. Today, there are more than 45 and 60, I would say, active streaming services if you add the global giants and the international players. So it started on LinkedIn, this beautiful adventure. And then I think this is when we first talked, Carlo. Then I launched my newsletter. And since then, it keeps growing. So I'm very happy. This is the media part of the Streaming Lab, where I want to support the region, explain how is the market, what's the future of the market. I also launched a podcast. I also included another amazing newsletter called Streaming in India, written by my friend Vinit Mehta, exactly. Yeah. So it's growing, and it will keep growing. On the other side, what I want to do is not only comment the industry, but be part of it. So that's why consulting is key for me. I want to sit next to the streaming professional within the platforms, understand how do they work, bring my expertise, help them on many topics, acquisition, market intelligence, business model, etc., etc. So I supported many local players in the past 2 years, and I want to keep doing it. So it's kind of, the Streaming Lab is kind of an hybrid model between media, consulting, and I will say maybe a third part that is market intelligence. I launched the first market report 1 year ago. And the success was definitely there. I sold more than 60 reports. Really? And some of them thanks to you, because you promoted it. So thanks again.
And quite a similar path I think we're on. But go back to the post that, if I remember well, and maybe I'll share it in the video and in the comment below, it was about streaming. There is no loyalty from streaming services more than in streaming services, or both? And I was immediately captured, so I have to comment on this. But explain me what you wanted to say and where you come from, if you want.
So the first line is loyalty isn't rewarded in streaming.
Correct.
And I wanted to write about this topic for a long time, but why I decided to write it like last week is because I received an email with a discount code of 80% from one of the top streaming service in the region, and
For
I
the
was
new
like,
customer.
yeah,
So
exactly,
in the acquisition part.
Exactly, and it's not the first time. I used to receive like many emails from this exact same platform, but I used to receive also other emails like with 30%, 40% from other platforms. And I was like, yeah, again, like I'm a subscriber of this platform, and I've been a subscriber of this platform for the past 2 years, so I'm a loyal customer. First of all, I keep receiving these kind of emails. Secondly, I keep paying the high price. So there's at some point, like speaking from not only a streaming professional, but from an active user of this, exactly a consumer, I found it like very strange and like and I was pissed off, definitely. So that's why I wrote about it. And yeah, the post like attracted a lot of comments, like 50 likes, 25 comments, coming not only from the MENA region, but from all over the world. So it shows that definitely this topic is an interesting one, is a tricky one, a complex one. We don't have the answer, of course. I think we can all agree that it's challenging for most of the streaming services to keep their users. But what's the exact solution? I'm not sure.
I think I've been in many discussions, if you want, on the pricing side and also the strategy side in direct-to-consumer OTT. And clearly, on one end, if you see it from the streaming service point of view, as it's so difficult to acquire a customer and you want to retain a customer, on the other end, you also think in the book, it goes as a flat line of revenue for a long time. So very often, we focus on ARPU on one end, but also on LTV, so long time value, no? And there is kind of a maybe lazy approach. So yes, I think churn is the scary monster. We all spend time in retaining customer strategies. That's why we have this now. But on the other end, it's kind of this flat line of revenue. What is very appealing on the obviously the streaming service side is once you acquire a customer until you lose the customer, it's a flat line of revenue. It's kind of an assumption, or if you focus on something, you focus on going, later
upsell.
up or upsell or cross-sell, etc. On the other end, if you see it from the customer point of view, you would also like to see the same, no? I'm staying longer, and I want to, like exactly what you are saying in the post. So why am I not rewarded if I'm staying longer? And how many tactics from customers have we seen of people saying, oh, maybe I have to go out and come back, right?
Exactly.
It was done with pay TV. I know people doing it with pay TV, because the moment you say I'm canceling, they come to your door and give you, if you try to call customer service, nobody replies. But the moment, it's like with banks. So we have seen these dynamics. The most interesting things that I think came to my mind is, okay, that's a good point, but what should a streaming service do? Because one thing is there is a tension, no? Streaming service wants money, customer wants to pay less for better content, right? But as we have seen a lot of strategies for acquisition, win back, is there a strategy that is feasible and it's not hurting the bottom line to reward loyal customers? And if you have any thought or an idea.
Yeah, the question is what will hurt more, losing customers or like losing a little bit of revenues because you want to make them happy. There's a fine line.
Yeah. on one end, so again, I'm always very much of I try to be a consumer just to test also the strategies. But on one end, you have this guaranteed income as a streaming service, the revenue. And especially if you have a lot of customers, either you are able to segment it in a certain way, but if you reward some of them with something that is a cost for you, because if you can reward them without adding cost to you, that's the perfect solution. Or with lateral cost, that's the perfect solution. You give value to customers without attracting value from your bottom line. On the other hand, if you have a big customer base, it could be super expensive to do even a tiny bit. So I totally agree. I am surprised there is not more discussion about this, to be honest, especially in the moment in which churn is very high. But we should find maybe best examples of cases in which this has worked or proven to work.
That's very difficult to have access to these numbers, and especially in the MENA region, where, as I mentioned, most of the platforms are private. So a good point is, I'm sure you heard about it, but recently Shahid, the streaming service of NBC Group, that is the main broadcaster of the MENA region, offered 10% of their capital to the public via an IPO. So they had to share data. Which is good, so I'm always trying to find where to get this data. And I discovered, so I will share it with you, that H1 2023, they have 3.4 million SVOD subscribers, okay? And 16 million monthly average users on the AVOD side. Shahid is a hybrid streaming service with AVOD.
Repeat the number just to be clear.
So 3.4 million SVOD and 16 million monthly average users.
Okay.
And this is where the churn numbers are interesting. So in 2020, they lost 1 million SVOD subscribers. In 2021, 0.8 million. And they lost 1 million again in 2022. Their definition of churn includes also the consumers that start the 7-day, the free trial, and then decides to leave. So that's why the numbers are impressive, but still, it's huge. However, they keep growing, so it means they keep adding more subscribers. So I have also the numbers of subscribers they added. So in 2020 they lost 1 million, but they added 1.8 million. In 2021 they lost 0.8 million and added 2 million. And in 2022 they lost 1 million but added 2.4 million.
So the acquisition is going well. The problem if you don't have the split between the free trial and the real churn, that's a bit where it becomes tricky. Because in theory, again,
definitely it's a huge percentage, right?
Yeah.
On the free trial. I would expect it to be 70% of it.
See. But on one end, I think clearly hybrid is one subject, but let's step back for a moment from the past, the vision and everything. Give me a vision, your view that is, I think, super well informed of the MENA market for specific streaming. How do you see it evolving? Where do you see it going?
Yes.
And again, especially then, if at the end we can focus on how to retain customers in a region that had maybe different dynamics than Europe or US.
Different dynamic, definitely. The streaming penetration of the MENA region is 8%. So I assume in the US, 90 or so. Definitely the dynamic are different. Another interesting point is that there are, as I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, so 60 active platforms. 45 of them are what I call homegrown or local streaming services. With the main one being Shahid that we just talked about, OSN Plus, Stars Play, Todd. I'm sure you know very well this one.
I just had James Wontley on the podcast. Yes,
no, it's an amazing platform. Then you have the global giants, but there are not that many global giants here. You have Netflix, Disney Plus, Prime Video, Apple TV Plus. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why also this region is very specific. And then you have the international streaming services that are active. It means they have a team here. They localize the content strategy. They acquire content from the local players, etc. And most of them are Indian players.
Okay.
The main reason is that we share the same audience. So it makes sense for them to invest resources and target the region. So complex market. Then we talk about MENA. That is a beautiful region, but this is a very diverse region. So it's difficult to consider MENA as a region. It's different countries, sub-regions maybe, with totally like a different kind of population, language. Of course, they don't have the same like price sensitivity. The penetration of mobile CTV is totally different. If you talk about UAE, Saudi, Egypt, those three countries are the most like powerful one when it comes to streaming.
Yeah.
So it's important to mention them. And so they still a lot to do. And I talk a lot about the local streaming ecosystem, because like they know very well the region, and they are successful in terms of number of subscribers compared to the global players that are still like struggling, to find the good recipe.
That's mostly because of content, or even at product level?
It's a mix, For example, so Netflix invest like more and more in content, but still like they don't have a team in Dubai. They manage it from Amsterdam. So you see the investment in terms of resources and the way they see the region is not. They don't. I think they don't consider it as a core market, of course. Prime Video, look, they just decided to close their investment in the region and to stop producing content. They announced it last week.
Yeah.
Disney Plus, they are struggling, definitely. I know it I know it very well. Apple TV Plus, of course, they are not here. There is no team, so that's it. So many reasons.
So there is more space. There is more space for the local players.
Yes. What's sure is that the local players they did not wait for the global giants to come and make money in this market. So they established like an ecosystem in terms of content acquisition, content production, and I'm sure that the global giants will come here at some point. Maybe they are waiting, for the market to be a little bit more mature,
more developed.
But the potential is there.
If we think of I know that the hybrid AVOD and SVOD is already clearly a model there that is very popular. But do you think people are getting used to have more services? They're moving from what are the dynamic in terms of consumer behavior that you have observed in the region? Are they churning often and just to change because there is the new series? What do you think is there?
So different answers. So the average number of streaming services per person is around like 3, which is not too bad. But as I mentioned, they have 60 platforms. So good luck to enter as part of those 3 services. So and yes, churn is very high for different reasons. Yes, because there is a fragmentation of the content. Sports used to be on Todd, but then there are more and more sports available on Shahid now, on Stars Play. So depending on the time of the year, maybe you want to switch a little bit and change your service. Ramadan is still an important time of the year. Shahid is very strong, so definitely everyone will go to Shahid at this time of the year. Then OSN Plus, they have HBO. So I'm sure that when House of the Dragon, the new season of House of the Dragon will be there, they will also go to OSN Plus. But then they will leave OSN Plus, definitely. So to answer your question, like the complexity of this market comes also from the fragmentation of the content available.
So in terms of retention strategy, they are quite which is something I've heard before, quite sophisticated and also dynamic. So it's not that you can say, okay, we have this strategy and for the next 3 years, this is what we will do. It depends a lot on the time of the year, what the others are doing.
Yes.
So which rights you have, especially if you're focusing on sport and things like that.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
And do you think there is any retention like tactics that culturally works in MENA better than in other regions, or something specific you've noticed?
Yeah, what I saw, the retention tactic, I don't know if it's one of your tactics, but definitely going hybrid is one of them. So you don't lose a lot of this. So 64% of the local streaming services that are still SVOD. But now more than 33 are hybrid. So, and more are launching their AVOD and fast offering. So it means even if you lose a SVOD subscriber, you keep it on the AVOD or fast platform.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a way also,
so it's easier to transition back also, basically.
Yeah, and then you want to push them back, maybe when you have kind of the ideal content available or something else, specific offer. So definitely going hybrid is a way to minimize the impact of churn in the MENA region and to generate also additional revenue with advertising.
And one thing, do you have a view of, I obviously have an interest in that, of the vendor market. So who's building all these platforms? Is it local companies? Is it, big integrators or company from Europe or US?
It's a mix.
Do you have a view on that?
Yeah, definitely. It's a mix of local and international players. Having said that, from my point of view, it's definitely complex for the international vendors to access the market. They need to show that they don't come only for an event and then leave. They need to show that they want to invest in the region. So coming for the events is a first step, but then definitely if they want to perform in MENA, they need to have someone here. It can be, just one person, but at least the people, the streaming services in the region, they will, put a face on a vendor, a local face on a vendor. So it's a tactic I would recommend. Mm-hmm. Another one is to show that they understand the specificities of the region, so they can write article about how they can support the region. They can write a post on LinkedIn, but they need to show off a little bit and to not only replicate the model they have in Europe or in the US and just try to sell the same platform or software here, but they need to maybe work on use case, target a specific country, but show that they understand the main the region.
No, that makes sense. So, but you think I'm sure the fact that you are there, you see a bright future for streaming OTT in that region. You will see growing more. Penetration
of streaming will keep growing, definitely. Strongly believe this. Like, I don't say it's easy, but we all need to be smart. Personally, what I try to do is I learn every day. That's why also I started writing the Streaming Lab. I learn about the new business model available. So I look at what's happening in the US, what's happening in Europe, but I don't replicate. I never push the streamers to replicate those models. I push them to localize, to adapt. And the region is catching up very quickly. And they will find maybe their own models, There are not that many players with ad-supported SVOD, for example. They decided to keep SVOD on one side, AVOD on the other. So that's fine. It works well. Again, like in some countries, price sensitivity is very high. So that's why AVOD is still key in those markets. Yeah. The next challenge, I think, in the region will be the monetization when it comes to ad-supported streaming services. But I feel like a lot of players, they try to better understand how to better monetize. International advertising players also, ad tech players, they come to the region more and more. They don't just want to sign new clients, they need to educate the market. and localize their offers. So yeah, it will keep growing, and I will say, yeah, I'm pretty confident for 2024.
Okay, so thank you, Yann, and maybe let's talk again in 6 months or at the end of the year to see how the year has developed with everything that is happening also in sports and in media. I mean, there are constant news. Difficult to keep up with everything that is happening in the media and sport technology business.
Definitely. Thank you so much. I started a podcast also talking about streaming in MENA and streaming in India. And with my friend Vinit Mehta, we already released 11 editions. So it's a weekly podcast. So yeah, I'm sure I will invite you very soon on it. Okay?
Va bene. Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a good week.
Thank you so much, Carlo.
Bye-bye.
Have a good week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.